here we go once again. This is Ken Lundeen, the host of the B2B Sales Summit. And I have with me probably one of the people that I looked at and I said, this guy has got to get on my summit. I'm a big fan of his. I've bought his books. I've read his literature. Keenan, welcome aboard, my friend.
Wow, man, I feel good right now. Way to start off my new year.
Well, that's awesome. So let me tell some people, if they don't know who you are, if they haven't had an opportunity to see you do any of your talking, if they haven't worked with your company, let me talk to them a little bit about why this is going to be such a monumental interview for them to sit down, take some notes, and get real about. So Keenan is the CEO, president, chief antagonist, which we love, and you will see that today, of a sales guy. He's been selling to someone his whole damn life. Calls it like he sees it, and if you've seen him speak, you know that's the truth. Famously at Inbound, he said, "Don't be an asshole." We'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about that, later. He is a contributor to Forbes magazine, author of Not Taught, which I love the book, and then his new book is coming out called Gap Selling. So now that I've set the stage, I guess we got nothing to do to kick ass here, right?
Exactly. Let's bring it. It's on. It's on, baby.
All right. Well, so today we're going to get all over the pipeline, man, because as we talked about, I want people to leave this interview and know that they can go out and crush their number this year. But I'm going to ask you a question I think that needs to be answered first, right? And that is, why in the world do up to 70% of salespeople miss quota?
So there are a whole bunch of reasons, right, that I don't call them tactical, but they're structural reasons, right? Wrong people, wrong roles. You got unfair quotas. I mean, one of the ones that drives me crazy the most is some of these clown businesses just pick some arbitrary number out of the world and say, okay, we're going to grow 20%. Or one I hate, you did 150% of quota last year, so we're going to hold you to that and put 20% on top of that. It's like they just pull this shit out of their ass, right? Drives me insane. But I think one of the big reasons, fundamental reasons salespeople aren't making the number is they don't know how to sell. Look, they have all these selling techniques and tactics they're using, and they go to all the training, and I'll be nice and not whip out any of the names of these training companies, but they tell them to do this and do that and this tactic and that tactic. But the truth of the matter is these tactics all lack the context of how to use them and what was really going on in the sale. And I think that lack of understanding of how to sell and how a customer buys and what is truly happening in the process, it ends up salespeople failing because of that.
Okay, that makes sense. And one of the things I see too, right, is everybody says, tell me how to close a deal. And I think you would probably agree with me that closing the deal is probably just a natural byproduct doing all the other stuff we should be doing correctly.
Yes, right? Absolutely.
Okay, so let's jump to the beginning of the pipeline. Let's kind of take this in chronological order. So we're getting into the process and we're starting to go into kind of discovery call, discovery mode, starting to talk to people. What are we doing wrong there, and what can we change to be more effective in that part of the pipe?
So the first thing people are doing is they don't respect the discovery enough. Yeah. I'm sorry, they do not respect the discovery enough. And you see it with SaaS companies. They set up these demo calls and they give 10 minutes to discovery and then jump into the whole demo piece. You know, I tell my clients, you do not do the discovery and the demo together. And a lot of them argue. I said, if you do it, I'm out. Okay. No, if you can't sell the value of the discovery, then I don't have time for this, because the discovery is it, right? I didn't know this about myself, but look, I have to sell for my own company too. People call us up all the time like, Keenan, why should I go with you instead of Boston Consulting Group or someone bigger, right? And I'm like, I'm not going to answer that question. What I say is, tell me what's going on inside your organization. Why'd you make this call? And I just start going on and on with these questions. And after years of doing this, one of my most recent new sales, he said, do you know why we hired you? I said, no. He said, we hired you because we want our people to do what you did to us in the discovery call. I literally spent 1 minute talking about a sales guy. Yeah. I spent 45 minutes asking them questions about their business, where they were going, what was happening. It's something I call current state, future state, etc. By the time I was done with the questions, they were like, we got this. We got to have this guy. He understands. And so I think most organizations don't teach their salespeople how to do this. And so you said something to me in the beginning, and I'm sorry it was a long answer, but I want to make sure I get this. Something tangible that they can go away with and they can use. So here it is. In your discovery call, one thing you have to do is get a broad, clear, concrete understanding of their current state. Where are they today? Their current state. I don't care where they want to go in the future. I don't care anything right now. Current state. And so the way you do that is the first thing you have to do is identify the problems. literal and physically, what is happening there today? What are the, literally and physically, what's going on? What are the problems they're facing? How is that impacting their organization? Then what is the root cause of those problems? And what is the emotional state of those problems? So physically and literally what's happening, what is the problem? What is the impact of that problem? What is the root cause of that problem? And then how is it affecting them emotionally? You have to get that first, and salespeople don't.
Hey, do me a favor, dig into that a little bit, because what I see when I talk to SaaS companies or anyone in general, when I talk to a sales force, is I see them saying, okay, Ken, I'm going to get into the root problem. But it always ends up being, what platform are you using? It ends up being all this technical mumbo jumbo. Talk to me about the importance or how I do the other stuff.
Yeah, so there's really 3 levels to that current state that I really force people to go to. And this is one that the conversation will take itself, and there's so much information you can't get it. But the 3 core areas are, there are technical problems. So what platform are you using, right? So they might say, I'm using Excel, right? I hear this a lot. They're using Excel. There's Excel spreadsheets everywhere. Believe it or not, that's a technical problem, okay? So therefore, it takes too much time to put them together. It's not accurate. They can't get it out fast enough. It burns a lot of time. There's all data's in different places. They can't run reports. Those are all technical problems, right? So I ask them, dig into the technical problems, but then dig into the business problems. So the business problems are, because you can't run the reports, what happens? Right? We don't get the revenue. We don't know where to invest our money. We can't market to certain people. We're unable to, I don't know, whatever. They're business problems. The business problems are revenue, they've lost time, things like that. They're not technical related, right? Then what's the impact of those? Right. What's the impact of not being able to market to your customers regularly? Or what's the impact of not being able to drive revenue? Well, we have a goal we set out there. Well, the board's expecting this, or so get to that stuff, right? Then that's real discovery, right? Technical and business problems and the impact of the technical and business problems.
All right, I'm gonna push you one more time on this.
Because keep pushing. Keep pushing.
Figure it out, right? Here's the gig. So I'm a salesperson. I'm going out and I'm selling to somebody. Well, what if I'm getting to procurement? I'm getting to a VP of engineering. I'm getting to somebody who, as a salesperson, I might think doesn't have a business problem, right? I'm just tasked to be operationally focused. How does that conversation differ? Do you think that's crap, or do you think they actually have business problems?
So it depends. You threw procurement in there. I want to move them off the shelf.
Let's avoid the RFP.
Yes, because that's a great point. The RFP is designed not to address business problems, or worse yet, it's designed to address perceived business problems. What I have shown many times over and over is the customer doesn't always know if the solution let me phrase it. The customer doesn't always know if the solution they're looking for is the right solution, right? Because they only know what they don't know. So I tell companies all the time, and look, for those of you who have a business, this is all you can use RFPs. Here's the exception. I apologize. For everybody else, don't do RFPs. Yeah. I tell companies all the time, if you can't work with a customer who will not go on the buyer's journey with you, and RFPs don't do that. They don't go on the journey with you. Don't do it. Okay? Exception asterisk, if that's the only way to sell, the government or whatever, then you'll figure it out. So, but to the other part of your question, for everybody else, yeah, everybody has business problems. Everybody has them. And so you should only be talking to people whose business problems align with the solution of your product or service, right? So if your product or service doesn't offer a solution to any set of problems they're having, you shouldn't be talking to them. And it's your job to understand what your product does, what your solution does, the business problems it addresses, the technical problem it addresses, and who has those, and go find them.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying too, and so here's the other thing we run into with sales. I want to sell something to everybody, right? Sales management, every deal on the table is the same as the other deal. And if it's got more revenue attached to it, then I want to stay in it as well. But I think one of the things that you're saying clearly, and I'd like you to expand on a little bit, is walk away from a deal if it sucks.
Yeah, walk away from a deal, there's no problem, okay? I mean, look, I don't know where I come up with these stupid metaphors, but one I come up with a lot is dating apps, right? What good does it me to try to sell a married man a dating app? Now, I am good enough to see, okay, wait, the married man could have a problem. He's not happy in his marriage, and he's about to leave. So before I assume he's married, I can't sell it to him and ask him, hey, are you happy in your marriage? Now, bear with me, folks. This is all just an example. But you say, yeah, and he says, yes, I'm happy in the marriage. And you say, well, how long have you been married? I've been married for 35 years. When's the last time you've been intimate? Oh, about 3 years ago. Are you really that happy? Well, no, okay, I just didn't want it, right? So I ask questions to validate his own answers. Yes, I'm happy. When's the last time you're intimate? 3 years ago. Who's happy in a marriage without intimacy for 3 years? I keep asking questions and I start to realize this cat's not happy. He's 1 foot out the door. So I say, well, listen, I offer product match, which can help you find somebody you're more connected to, that makes you feel better about yourself, right? So now I'm selling to his problem, even though he's married. But on the other side, if he's happy, intimacy was a week ago, he loves his wife to death, he couldn't imagine ever finding someone else, I'm done. He doesn't have a problem I can solve. So why am I talking to him, right? It's about the problems, not about the product. And 90% of salespeople say this, but their actions don't map it. I've seen the most sophisticated salespeople argue with me, and I ask them 4 questions where I watch them in action. I'm like, you're so full of shit, I want to punch you in the face because you're not being honest with yourself. You suck. Problems first, product second.
Yeah. And it's that whole idea of being other-centered, right? We all say, oh, I want the other person to win it. Oh, I want to fit in. And then you start to dig deeper, and all the questions that come back they're along the lines of like the old school band.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Just give me the information I need to provide you a bid.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and you look like a fool.
Yeah, it's silly. How are you going to connect with somebody in that environment? All right, good. Well, I appreciate you. So I appreciate you digging into that. So talk to me a little bit more. If you were to make it more general, so I understand that we're talking, and anyone watching this could be in any industry that we know of. They could be selling cat litter to Walmart. I don't know, but in that environment, I've had pushback when people say, you need to understand the customer's business, right? So talk to me a little bit about how, let's be honest, sales managers say they're not getting the training to be able to train their people. So therefore there's a whole bunch of sales people out there running around without the right training knowledge, and they have gaps in that education. How do I figure out my customer's business if I don't feel like I've got that kind of support?
Okay, great question. I just net it out. Okay, like I get this a lot, so I started writing gap selling. I'm super excited to get it out there, but until it's done, I net it out. And I've created this most simple little Word document, or what do you want to call it, table to help with this, okay? First and foremost, I tell people, listen, your product or service, whether it was created 6 months ago, 6 years ago, or 60 years ago, somebody somewhere said, hey, I hate when this happens, or I see people struggle with this. They had a problem in their head, or 2 problems, or 4 problems, and they built your solution to solve that problem. And then somewhere pretty soon after this was done, everybody got really freaking happy and really felt really good about this dumbass product we built, and stopped talking about the initial problem and started talking about the stupid product. We've lost sight of why we built it. So what I tell people is, look, write down on a piece of paper all of the major business problems and technical problems your product serves, okay? Just think about what your customer is going through that you solve, the business problem itself. So for a sales guy, right, we solve declining revenue. That's just one, right? We solve, or we help companies who are struggling with growth. They can't grow past a certain point. Those are 2 business problems. Would you agree with that, Ken?
I would agree with that.
Right?
Yep.
So whatever your product is, get with your sales manager, get with the product team, whatever, I don't care, and write down all those problems. Then in the next column in the table, write down the impact to the business if that problem exists, okay? Then in the next column, write down the root cause of that problem existing. So I said, I forgot what I said. What did I say? Declining revenue, is that what I said?
Declining revenue.
Okay. Yep. Declining revenue. So one root cause could be wrong people in the wrong roles. Another one could be no longer a market fit. Another one could be the economy. Another one could be new federal mandates. Another one could be poor salespeople. Another one could be poor sales processes. I'm nailing all the root causes, right?
Right.
Do that for 8 or 9, 10 major business and technical problems, and then tell your salespeople to go fucking find those, right? You don't have to do anything else. Just get someone on the phone. Hey, Ken, my name is Jim Keenan with Phone Case Gold Company, right? And I understand and we help people, I'm making this ship on the fly, but have you struggled with phones breaking? I understand you have 100 employees, you buy them all phones. What % break on a regular basis? No, they never break. Hey, have a great day. You don't have the problem. Yes, they do break. We get about a 10% breakage. Oh, times $800 a phone, that's $8,000 a year. This is only, I'd like to talk to you about how we can reduce that breakage. We'd like to talk about how we can reduce the breakage. Notice I'm not talking about my phone case cover company yet. I go on problem hunting exercises. You take that little list, you stick it on every salesperson's desk. They know what problems to go look for. The minute a customer agrees they have that problem, you can have a conversation.
Yeah. We try to make people have problems when they don't have them.
Yes. Yes, look, you don't need to know someone's business. You just need to know the part of their business that you affect. And that's not infinite. That's very finite. Yeah.
And so as an example, your phone case company doesn't impact their revenues.
No.
And that's one of the things I always see, right? Hey, we're going to do X, Y, Z that doesn't touch revenues, but somehow, by the way, we're going to help you grow your company.
Yeah, but it does affect cost, profit margin, right? Profit margin. It can also affect downtime. When someone's phone breaks, how long don't they have the phone for?
Yep.
Right? So that's a problem. I can have that phone problem. I can have that conversation about a problem. Have conversations about problems first. I'm desperate to get the sales world to understand that. Desperate.
Yes. I'm in. That makes sense. So talk to me about this. So one of the things I think, so we're reaching out to people. I'm talking to them about my phone case, whatever it is. These are the problems that I can fix. Most customers, they don't know you. They don't know me. They don't want to open up right away. They're going to push back right away. Oh, that problem doesn't exist. I've got to get past kind of a slew of objections. I mean, is there a process, or is there a way that I can start to be better and more impactful from a standpoint of when I'm given objections during the process?
Okay, so that's a great question. And this one isn't as black and white as I like the other ones to seem. It depends on when the objections come and how they come. So the phone case was a terrible one, but one of the most difficult objections for salespeople to overcome is we already do that.
Yeah. Right.
So someone starts talking about a product or something. So we already have that, right? Or we don't have breakage, right? So if they say we already do that, or we already have that, or we already have phone cases or whatever, then you say, hey, I completely get it. Can I ask just one question? How are you doing it today? Can you take 1 minute to tell me about how you're doing it? The minute they explain how they're doing it allows you to compare and contrast. Right? So this is such an awful analogy. I'm probably digging a hole, but we currently buy our phone cases from so-and-so. We buy them for every new employee and blah, blah, blah. Right? And so whatever answer they give, I'm tracking that, baselining that against my solution. I'm looking for certain things, right? And so knowing how my solution works and how the industry works, I should be able to say, oh, well, does this happen? Does that happen? Do you experience this? Do you experience that? Because once you get them talking to you about how, that's how you create the differentiation. And so it's not that they're already doing it. The question is, are they doing it well? Are they doing it right? Can you show them a better way to do it? So in that case, if someone pushes back right from the very beginning, we already have cases, or we already do this, then you want to go into how. How are you doing this? Or are your cases, do they use titanium and do they blah, blah, blah? Right? No, they don't. Oh, I'm in. Right? Okay, you're not doing it as well. I think I can provide more value. So that's how you do that there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense on the front end. And one of the things that I'll tell people all the time is you've got to have your kind of 3 go-to open-ended questions for that first objection that happens in the first 90, 120 seconds of any meeting. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that, you're in trouble, because you're just going to end up, going off a ditch that doesn't matter. So, all right. So that's kind of in the front end. So it's that area, and that's great. But you said it depends where it happens in that conversation, right? Where it happens in the sales cycle. So give me contrast that with where it might happen somewhere else.
Yeah. So the other one I love, it's easy. If all the way back to your original question of this interview, why does 75% of salespeople fail? 70% or whatever. I've seen 56, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, 90% of all statistics are made up, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. It goes to this. If you've done the appropriate discovery and you understood their current state and you got to their problems and they told you the impact of those problems, I have yet to experience an objection. That's not true. There's small ones, but where you couldn't overcome it by going back to what they said in their current state. You're too expensive. Okay, wait, I'm confused is my favorite line. Everybody write that down. I'm confused. You told me that it was costing you $200,000 a year and this and this and this, that you couldn't connect with new customers. Your average deal size is 50,000. You think you're losing 8 to 10 customers a year. Last I checked, that's 400,000. Ours is only 12,000 a month. I'm confused why $12,000 a month is too high, considering we're talking between $500,000 and $1 million in saved and new generated revenue. Yeah. Right? Objection number one. You don't have XYZ feature. Look, we really like this, but you don't have XYZ feature. All right, I appreciate that. We don't. But I'm confused. You told me that the number one important thing to you is to get off out of spreadsheets because you couldn't run reports and you couldn't do this and this. And because you couldn't do those things, you were unable to market to this space, and you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that, leaving all this money on the table. This feature that you would really like, I appreciate and understand, but in the end of the day, that's not going to impact that's not going to affect your ability to market to those people, get this new revenue, penetrate these new markets. So why is that so important to you? Overcome again. Notice what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to convince you that that piece of my application is good or not. Fuck it, I don't care. What I'm coming back to is you told me what's important to you. Why are you talking about this over here? Yeah. Right? That's how you do it. But see, this is the problem. Most salespeople can't do that. Why? Because they didn't do a good enough job on the front end. They didn't do the discovery. They don't understand the impact. They don't understand how it's affecting their business. So when somebody asks about that little doohickey stupid feature and they're about not to buy over it, you don't know that it's not important. Yeah. You don't have the insight. So they lose the deal, right? Worth 100 grand. They misquoted by 20 grand because they didn't know that that feature was irrelevant. The customer was lost in the little check boxes because no one did a discovery up front, because no one understood the business drivers, because no one understood what the real problem was. Yeah. That's how.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think one of the interesting things you're talking about, so we got all these people missing quota, and the basic premise is, A, do we respect the discovery? And then B, do we actually use the information like it matters?
Yes! Yes, dude! It just drives me, it's a gold mine. I did something on LinkedIn the other day with my kids. Kids are brilliant at this. When I tell my daughter she can't do something, the first question she asks is what?
Why?
Why? Right? And then I tell her and I say, well, because it's late. Well, why is it too late? Well, because you got school tomorrow. And the reason she's asking all these questions isn't because she wants to know, because she takes all this information and flips it around and says, Dad, I'm 12. I should be able to go to bed later. Right? Tomorrow's a late start day, so I don't have to get up as early as normal. She starts ripping apart my arguments for no based on my own premises, not on her stuff. She's brilliant. That's what kids do. Salespeople stop doing that.
Yeah, and I think we beat that out of kids as they go through the school system. So I don't want to divert too much, but I got to ask this question because I've read your book, Not Taught. This dives into it. You talk about how the idea of education versus experience matters, doesn't matter. Can you tie that into what you talked about with your daughter as far as, hey, say I'm in my own head and I'm believing that somebody who's got 15 years of experience in front of me and I've been in sales 5 years, or they've got the formal education. I mean, talk to me just a little bit about what I've got to tweak in today's world to really be effective.
Yeah, it's about expertise, not experience. Look, you can't get you can have experience without expertise. You can sit in a job, not think about it, do what you're told, and just rote perform or do it half-assed, right? Yeah. And get 5, 10, 12 years experience. Experience is time. It's time-based. We have over the years through our society attached an assumed acquisition of expertise based on experience. But why are there doctors out there who've been practicing for 40 years that go to seminars to learn something new that someone half their age came up with? Because those doctors really weren't focused on increasing their expertise. They were only focused on maintaining their expertise and growing through experience. So I tell people, look, you can get 20 years experience 20 years of expertise in 5 years. Just work harder. Learn more, challenge the status quo, think, add value to something, and you can get expertise a lot faster. There's no time limit on that. So I think that's the key right there is understanding the difference between expertise and experience, and ask yourself how much of your time is dedicated to building expertise, not building experience.
Awesome. Yeah. So don't sit on your hands, right? You can become an expert in what you do, where you are, based upon everything you do today and the hard work you put in. And let's get rid of the fallacy and the crap that comes with it that says you can be an overnight success overnight, right? You're an overnight success in 10 years because the one thing we know is you still got to bust your ass.
You still got to bust your ass, but you could be the guy it took 10 years to get, it took him 10 years to get to a certain level of expertise. Why can't you do that in 5? Right? Why can't you do that in, well, maybe not 3, but you can get 5 years experience on the level of 5 years expertise in 2, read more, study more, practice more, hands down. Yeah. Expertise is not time bound for the most part.
Yeah, I love that because I know that you put Peter Thiel in your book, and Peter Thiel says, at least the quote I've seen is, he says, if you needed to exercise your 10-year plan in 6 months, what would you do?
There you go. Yep. Yeah. Good. Yep.
Right. That's fantastic stuff. So talk to me. Okay. So we've talked about kind of the ends of, let's do a better discovery. How are we going to get through objections? Let's pay attention to that. Let's tie it back in. Talk to me a little bit more about this idea of gap selling. Can you dive deeper into that for me on how I'm actually going to compare and contrast the present? And I think we've talked mostly about the present state. Current state. Talk to me more about how I get them into the future state, and what does that really mean?
So the current state is where I am today, all those things I talked about, right? The future state is where I want to go. So the current state is I'm currently on 2 spreadsheets. I'm making up a number, $10 million. My average sales price is $30,000 a thing. I'm in these 3 markets, blah, blah, blah. That's my current state. Then he says, well, where do you want to go, right? And that person will be like, well, I'd like to ideally expand to 2 other markets. Okay, great. Tell me about those markets. Well, there's, again, all made up. We believe that those markets are worth $20 million each to us over 5 years. That's $40 million over 5 or 10 years. Yes. Why can't you get into those markets now? Well, we don't have this, we don't have that. Problems, current state. We don't have this, we don't have that. We can't do this, we can't do that. So as you start building it and said, okay, so if you had those, how that would affect your business besides the money? Oh, well, we'd then be able to take out our competition, or we'd be able to add new products, or we think we'd be able to do this. So you start asking them questions about where they want to, same concept, where they want to go, what the impact to the organization would be, and the opposite of root cause is why it can't get done, right? Yeah. Now, the space is the gap. Where I am today, where I want to go tomorrow. And that's the gap. And that's what we call it gap selling. And it's a salesperson's job to get them from here to there and have them thinking about that gap. The power in this is the gap can be manipulated, and I don't mean that in the negative term, I mean the positive term, by the salesperson's ability to ask questions and dig. So one of the examples I use all the time in all my speaking engagements is, if you had a really bad headache and I told you I had a pill that would solve that headache and it cost $5, would you buy it?
Sure.
Okay. And almost everybody raises their hands. And I said, okay. So I said, take your hand down if you wouldn't pay for this pill anymore. I said, what if it was $10? A couple hands come down. What if it was $50? A lot of hand comes down. What if it was $1,000? Almost every hand comes down. Then I said, okay, but what if I asked you, why do you need to get rid of the headache? Well, because it hurts. Okay, great. So most of you, because it hurts, it's only $5, $10, maybe 20. I said, how many of you who have the headache are working on a project? And how many of you working that project has to get done in the next 24 hours, and that project is worth $1 million to you? How many would you pay $1,000 for the damn pill now? A couple hands went back up.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because what I did was I expanded the gap. The first gap was a headache and it's painful, go away. That's a small gap. That gap's only worth 5, 10, maybe $15. As I pushed it and said, that gap isn't just about the headache going away and the pain and discomfort. It's about me being able to work and me being able to work comfortably. And the result or impact of not working comfortably is $1 million. So all of a sudden that pill is worth $1,000. Then I really pushed the envelope and I said, how many of you have had that headache for more than a month? And people play with me, hands go up. I said, and of you, how many of that headache is through the eyes and in one center part of the head? And a few of my hands stayed up. I said, can I take a picture? And some people said yes. And we're all playing, right? And I said, oh, hey, You realize 5% of you, that headache is actually a brain tumor and you're going to die in 6 months. How many would you pay $1 million for that pill now? Right. And so what I did is by asking questions and uncovering their current state, which then sets up the future state, I expand the gap. And as I expand the gap, I increase the probability that they buy, and I increase the probability that they buy from me to solve their issues.
Yeah, and what I love about what you're doing too is you're different, right? Because you're not walking into this thing and just going, hey, let me do a BANT analysis on everything I need to bid you. You're saying, hey, look, let me help you understand. And creating the gap, you're showing, like unintentionally ties back into the idea of expertise, right? Yep. You're coming across as an expert, you're having a completely different conversation. And I love what you expanded on. So hit this for me. Are there examples? Is it a matter of how many questions you ask? Or is it a matter of the right questions to be right? As an example, I talked to somebody today, and his question to a prospect routinely was, hey, where do you want to be in 5 years? My argument is it's probably not a great question.
It's a horrible question. Whoever asked it, I'm sorry, no, I'm disrespecting. If it's someone I know, I love you, appreciate it, but no. Now, I don't mind that question if it comes on the heels of a really good current state discovery and they suggested they have a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Or they suggested they're trying to go somewhere in 5 years and I want them to quantify it. So you said you want to grow or double the company in 5 years. Okay, great. What does that mean? But you know what stuff I buy today that has a 5-year horizon?
Like 1%?
Nothing. Nothing. Okay, that's not true. My car, okay? And that has a 10-year horizon because I try to pay it off as fast as possible and I drive it till it dies. I'm the guy with the nicest car on the block and the shittiest car on the block because I just keep it till it dies and everybody's car's way ahead of me. So yeah. I just bought a car, so I got the nicest one on the block, but in 10 years I'll have the shittiest one because I'll still have this car. But no one buys anything with a 5-year horizon. Here's the key, and this is the hardest part. It's the other reason I'm writing the book. You have to be critically thinking connected. That's a bad set of words, but you go with me, to what that prospect is saying. Your head has to be so in it. And one of my favorite questions is, tell me a little bit about how you're doing it today.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit of how that is impacting your organization? Can you tell me a little bit about what has caused that? Can you tell me? Yeah. Then as they start talking, I know what questions to ask next. And that is the hardest part about this because some people just don't have the skill.
Yeah,
and it's hard to teach.
I love what you did there. So if I'm out there and I'm watching this interview, I'd write that down. Can you tell me about? You can literally fit that into any sales conversation anywhere. And I'll give them one more trick, right? If they tell you about it, why is that? Why do you believe that? There's a good follow-up question, right? And all of a sudden you're off to the races, whether you're talking about current or future state. Cool. Well, as we're going to wind down here over the next couple of minutes, but I'm really interested in getting your opinion. We've talked a lot about gap selling, current state, future state, how we do better at objection handling. But what are going to be the defining moments in sales in 2018 beyond? What's changing? What are the things we have to be critically aware of? Because you know what? While you're thinking, Forrester says between 16 and 20, 1 million jobs were going to disappear. So let's assume for a minute that a bunch of them are going to go somewhere. What do I got to know? What do I got to do? Where do I got to focus? How is that for a whole bunch of shit questions?
I know, dude. I'm terrible at these types of questions. I really am. I've never been much of a prognosticator when it comes in the world of sales. And I've certainly not been very good at articulating these things. They're usually gut feels, but
I don't know. So bring it.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna. I mean, look, you sort of steered me down the road of Forrester and the whole idea of 1 million jobs being eroded, and I think that's going to be along the idea. It's going to be along the low value positions, right? Where we're connecting with the customer, and the whole current state piece is unnecessary, high transaction, or just setting up meetings, et cetera. So I think what I would do is if I'm being forced to answer a question, I don't think I'm answering very well, but I would say go upstream, elevate your sales skills so that you can play upstream, right? There is going to be no AI in any immediate future that is going to be able to engage, is going to be able to problem hunt, is what I call it, right? Problem hunt in a highly dependent if-then world. If they say this, then this, if this, then this. AI is not there yet, right? Certainly not in a very engaged way. So be able to go upstream where those businesses, products, services, etc., require complex conversations, complex engagement, sophisticated engagement, so that when AI takes out the low-level shit, it doesn't affect you.
Yeah, and that's great. I appreciate you playing along. I mean, it's still human to human, right?
Mm-hmm.
People buy, as Matt Hines says, which I think you know Matt Hines. He says, don't buy. So, you know, but I think you answered it perfectly. I think the idea is to go up. And I know something you're passionate about is coaching. So from a sales rep's perspective, sales manager's perspective, you know, give me the quick set on why coaching matters and how that's going to help me level up my game going forward.
Yeah, coaching matters. Coaching is about getting better. I mean, I've done a number of coaching seminars and trainings recently because it is my big passion behind gap selling. And it amazes me the perception of coaching that the sales reps, every single customer I've been in or client I've been with, they say, yeah, my really good reps, they said they don't need the coaching. They've been doing this for 20 years. And I just want to walk in there and punch them in the nose. I said, coaching is not about being good.
Yeah.
Coaching is about getting better.
Yeah.
If you have a person who says they can't get better, get rid of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple. Get rid of them. And so if they come out of the chute with, well, I've been doing this for 20 years, why do I need coaching? Then say, well, because I want to help you get better. Give them the benefit of the doubt that they just didn't really think through it. But once you say it's about getting better, if they still can't embrace it, kick them to the curb, man. Just get rid of them. Coaching is critical. Look, anybody who wants to be successful, your whole life should be built around, how do I get better? How do I become a better spouse? How do I become a better parent? How do I become a better hitter in my local softball league? How do I become a better salesperson? How do I become a better sales leader? How do I become a better coach? How do I mow my freaking lawn better? Like, seriously, like, we should always be thinking that way. Like, I am not the smartest dude in the book. I struggled through college, through high school, you know, but one of the things I'm obsessed with is getting better. When I played freaking softball with my buddies, I would go to the batting cages once or twice a week just because I wanted to play better the next Thursday or whatever freaking day it was on, right? And then it worked. I was hitting home runs left and right in a stupid league. You only got one home run, and they started getting mad at me because I could not hit it out of the park, right? But it worked. It worked. So you just have a passion, a desire, and a commitment to get better, and let a coach help you get better. And as a sales leader, your number one job is leading, and part of leading is coaching. The rest doesn't matter. So yeah, embrace that. And everybody just embrace that.
Yeah, that's great. And we forget about the idea, right? LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Ben Johnson, Peyton Manning.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, I was trying to avoid that idea because you live in Denver and I'm a Broncos guy, and it was a rough year. So, but
it's not a rough year for the Patriots because they keep coaching.
Yeah, everybody does. They're all looking for coaching. And so as a sales rep or as a manager, you've got to go embrace that and look for ways to improve. So that's great. Well, Keenan, you've absolutely crushed this thing, man. You've dropped so much knowledge. I know that people are going to go out and you're going to impact thousands of sales lives this year. So tell me this before I let you go, though. If they want to find you and they want to follow you on social media or find you digitally, how do they keep up with Keenan?
You can go to LinkedIn and Keenan Dot, because everybody makes you have a first and last name. So, you know, Keenan Dot on in LinkedIn. You can go to asalesguy.com, and we have tons of stuff there. I'm easy to find there, the blog, etc. I'm on Instagram as Jim Keenan because I can't get Keenan. This girl out of Melbourne, Australia, I've seen her picture. She can't be but 19 or 18. I've sent her tons of requests. I was going to pay this girl 4 figures for her name. She's only got like 100 posts. So it's not like she's using this for a lot. She must come from a wealthy family or just be clueless, because 4 figures in Australian dollars, last time I checked, is a lot of money for a teenager, and she will not get back to me. So I can't get Keenan, but I got Jim Keenan on Instagram, and then I'm Keenan on Twitter. Those are the best places.
So if they want to get on your good side and they happen to know the young lady in Australia using Keenan,
yes,
I guarantee this to anyone watching. Either Keenan will send you a free copy of his book or I'll buy it for you. So
and then some, and then some. Let's get this girl paying attention. Yeah.
So that's awesome. So once again, I appreciate you joining us on the B2B Sales Summit. And I know 100% without a doubt that if people apply some of these principles, that they will go out and crush their quota this year and for years to come. So once again, I'm honored that you joined me, my friend. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
I had a blast. Thank you, baby.